Lisa Holm was 17 years old when she started her first job at a cafe in the small Swedish town of Kinnekulle. Full of enthusiasm and determination, Lisa was excited about the new opportunity and the possibility of earning her own money. Her father, always protective, would accompany her by car to work on weekends, ensuring she arrived safely. He watched from a distance, proud of his daughter who, despite her young age, already showed great responsibility and independence. Over time, Lisa proved to be an exemplary employee, and her parents decided to gift her a scooter, allowing her to commute independently. In the first few months, her father still followed her by car, making sure she adapted well to the new mode of transportation and the roads. Gradually, he became more confident in Lisa's abilities and finally allowed her to travel to work alone. Lisa was happy with this newfound freedom, enjoying the sense of independence and the wind in her face as she rode through the quiet town. On that fateful day, Lisa finished her shift at the cafe and sent a message to her father, informing him she was on her way home. A few minutes later, he received a call from Lisa but heard no voice, only indistinct sounds and a car door slamming. Thinking his daughter had called by mistake, he was not immediately worried. However, when Lisa did not arrive home at the expected time, panic set in. Her father quickly drove to the cafe and found Lisa's scooter parked, with the keys still in the ignition and the helmet hanging on the handle. But there was no sign of Lisa. Desperation took hold, and he began searching for her frantically, calling the police to initiate a search that would become the largest operation of its kind in Sweden's history. Welcome to Spooky Stories. I'm Milo, your guide through the chilling and the unknown. Here, we dive into terrifying tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Join our community of thrill seekers, and let's explore the darkness together. On a sunny afternoon in June 2015, the small Swedish town of Kinnekulle seemed to be enveloped in routine calm. Lisa Holm, a 17-year-old girl, had finished her shift at the cafe where she worked on weekends. With a brief message to her father, Lisa informed him that she was on her way home. However, this familiar routine was shattered when, minutes after her message, her father received a call with no response. Indistinct voices and the sound of a car door slamming were all he heard before the call ended in silence. From that moment on, the town's tranquil atmosphere would be invaded by a growing sense of unease and darkness. Lisa's father, initially worried, tried to calm himself with the thought that his daughter might be busy with her colleagues. But his unease turned into panic when he arrived at the cafe and found Lisa's scooter parked, with the keys still in the ignition and the helmet hanging on the handle. The cafe, however, was empty, and there was no sign of Lisa. Every minute without news increased his despair, and the father, now gripped by paralyzing fear, began frantically calling out for his daughter. The small community of Kinnekulle would soon be mobilized in an unprecedented and desperate search. As night fell, the police were called, initiating a frantic search that would last all night. Lisa's case quickly became front-page news across the country, with more than 1,000 people joining the largest search operation in modern Swedish history. The first clues began to emerge. A broken cell phone, personal items scattered along a dirt road, suggesting that Lisa had been taken against her will. The feeling of helplessness and fear of the unknown loomed over everyone, as each new clue brought more questions than answers, plunging the community into terrifying suspense. The morning after Lisa's disappearance, a worker found a motorcycle glove in the barn across from the cafe. It was a crucial clue that the police had initially overlooked. Lisa's parents confirmed that the glove belonged to their daughter, intensifying the fear that something terrible had happened. The police, now with an abduction theory, redoubled their efforts, bringing in more sniffer dogs and expanding the search area beyond the cafe and its surroundings. The small glove was the first concrete indication that Lisa hadn't simply disappeared. She had been taken. With the discovery of the glove, other items began to appear. A group of volunteers found pieces of Lisa's phone and her identification documents scattered along a dirt road. Each item found seemed to narrate a story of terror and despair, as if Lisa were leaving a trail to be found. The volunteers, now even more determined, tracked each piece of evidence, while the police began to suspect that Lisa's abductor might be closer than they had imagined. Pressure on the police increased as the public clamored for answers. Witnesses began reporting sightings of two strange men near the cafe on the day of Lisa's disappearance. One of these men was described as someone who spoke English and seemed lost, further heightening the mystery and fear. This report led the police to investigate local workers, focusing on two Lithuanian brothers who did not speak Swedish and worked in the barn where Lisa's glove was found. The atmosphere in Kinnickle was charged with tension and suspicion, as each new discovery brought everyone closer to the horrifying truth. With the accumulated clues, the police finally had a major breakthrough on Friday. A friend of the home family, who was participating in the search, found Lisa's helmet, jacket, and headphones hidden under a pile of branches behind a barn. This crucial find indicated that Lisa had been kept nearby, raising hopes of finding her alive. However, the situation quickly turned grim when the police arrived at the scene and realized that something much more sinister was at play. Forensic analysis revealed DNA traces on the items found, belonging to one of the Lithuanian brothers, Neris, who worked in the barn. The discovery of these traces was irrefutable evidence of his involvement in Lisa's disappearance. The investigation intensified, and the police began to build a solid case against him. Meanwhile, public pressure and media attention grew, turning Lisa's disappearance into a major national case. As the police pieced together the sequence of events, another crucial discovery was made. An area in the barn showed clear signs of a struggle, with rope marks and traces of blood. Forensic experts found evidence that Lisa had been held and possibly murdered there. This horrifying scenario began to take shape, and the town of Kinnickle, along with the entire country, was about to face the shocking reality of Lisa Holmes' fate. The truth was unfolding like a living nightmare, a tragedy no one could have foreseen. With all the evidence pointing to Neris, the police arrested him on suspicion of kidnapping and murder. During interrogation, Neris maintained his innocence, claiming that the DNA found in the barn was simply a result of his work there. However, the investigators were not convinced and continued to press him. The presence of his DNA on Lisa's clothes and at the site where her body was found was an incredibly incriminating proof that Neris could not explain. While Neris was in custody, his wife and brother were interrogated. They provided inconsistent alibis, increasing suspicions about their involvement or knowledge of the crime. The Swedish police were determined to solve the case quickly, especially with the public pressure and intense media focus on the outcome. Every detail mattered, and every inconsistency in the stories of Neris family members was a potentially crucial clue. Eventually, Neris' brother, under intense pressure and perhaps feeling the weight of guilt, began to reveal inconsistencies in his alibi, admitting that he was not with Neris during the crucial period of Lisa's disappearance. This partial confession, combined with the physical evidence, solidified the case against Neris. The Swedish police, with an increasingly solid case, were ready to present their findings to the public, confident that justice would be served for Lisa Holm. As volunteers and police combed the area, their flashlights flickering through the encroaching dusk, they noticed an old trailer surrounded by tall grass. The trailer appeared abandoned, its exterior rusted and paint peeling, yet the flattened grass near the door suggested recent activity. Eric, a seasoned detective, felt a chill run down his spine as he led the team towards it. "Something's off here," he murmured, his voice barely audible. Inside, the air was thick and musty, the smell of decay almost unbearable. The trailer's interior was cramped and cluttered, filled with metal lockers that had once been used by workers. Some lockers were rusted shut, while others hung ajar, revealing old, worn-out clothes. The search team, methodically opening each locker, moved with a mix of anticipation and dread. Eric's heart pounded in his chest. "Keep looking," he instructed, his voice steady but edged with tension. Anna, a young volunteer, stopped suddenly, her hand trembling as she pointed to one locker that was slightly ajar, unlike the others. "Over here," she called out, her voice shaking. Eric hurried over, his flashlight revealing the unsettling scene inside. With a deep breath, he pulled the locker open, and the team recoiled at the sight before them. Hidden behind a pile of old clothes and rags was the lifeless body of a young girl, contorted to fit the small space. A rope was tied around her neck, and tape covered her head, signaling the violence she had endured. Her pants were pulled down, and her shirt was pushed up, though the details of her assault were yet to be confirmed. For a moment, the team was paralyzed by shock. Eric took a deep breath, his eyes scanning the horrific scene. "We need to secure this area," he said, his voice now a low growl. "Call it in. Get forensics here immediately." The urgency in his tone spurred the others into action, but the weight of the moment hung heavily in the air. As the forensic team arrived, the investigation took on a new intensity. They meticulously documented the scene, every piece of evidence telling part of a chilling story. Eric watched as they worked, his mind racing through the possibilities. "Why here?" he muttered to himself. The trailer, once a mundane part of the workers' routine, had become a macabre hiding place for a sinister crime. In the ensuing hours, the forensic team gathered crucial evidence. The locker yielded strands of hair, fibers from clothing, and trace amounts of DNA. Outside the trailer, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of sorrow and determination. A group of volunteers whispered among themselves, their faces pale with shock. Meanwhile, the police worked with a new fervor, driven by the urgency of their grim task. Eric's mind raced as he pieced together the potential sequence of events. The killer had lured the victim into the barn, under what pretense he could only guess, before committing the unspeakable act and hiding the body in the trailer. The careful placement of the body, buried under a heap of clothes, spoke of a calculated attempt to delay discovery. The discovery galvanized the community and the police force. News of the grisly find spread quickly, heightening the public's demand for justice. The trailer, now a focal point of the investigation, was thoroughly examined. Forensic experts combed every inch, looking for additional clues. They found fingerprints and other DNA evidence that would later be instrumental in identifying the perpetrator. As forensic experts lifted the body from the locker, carefully preserving every piece of evidence, the moment of revelation arrived. A collective gasp escaped from those present as they recognized the victim. Lisa Holm, the girl they had been desperately searching for, had been found. The weight of their discovery hung in the air, a grim confirmation of their worst fears. News of Nira's arrest and the incriminating evidence quickly spread, generating a wave of shock and outrage across Sweden. Lisa Holmes' case had captured the heart of the nation, and the brutality of her murder left many in a state of mourning and fury. Social media buzzed with discussions about the case, and displays of solidarity with the Holm family began to emerge everywhere. The media followed every detail of the case, from Nira's arrest to the forensic investigations, keeping the public informed and engaged. TV and radio programs discussed the most disturbing aspects of the crime incessantly, and criminology experts offered their opinions on the psychological profile of the killer. The national uproar was so great that even politicians began commenting on the need to improve security and surveillance in small Swedish towns. The local community of Kinnekull, shaken by the tragedy, came together in a moving display of unity. Candlelight vigils were held in honor of Lisa, and an unprecedented wave of support was directed toward her family. The feeling of loss was palpable, but the community solidarity provided a momentary relief from the unbearable pain. The case not only marked a town but left a deep scar on the social fabric of Sweden. Nira's trial began with a public hearing that attracted international media attention. The courtroom was packed, with reporters and onlookers eager to follow every moment of the process. The prosecution presented its evidence meticulously, highlighting the forensic findings that linked Nirus directly to Lisa's murder. The vivid descriptions by experts of the body's condition and the evidence in the barn painted a horrible and indisputable picture of the crime's brutality. Nirus' defense tried to argue that the DNA found in the barn could be explained by his work there, but the prosecution strongly countered, pointing out the impossibility of such a coincidence, especially with the DNA found on Lisa's underwear. Moreover, the lack of solid alibis and the contradictions in his family's testimonies further weakened the defense. The trial became a media spectacle, with each new day revealing more shocking details. Lisa's family was present at every session, their expressions of pain and sorrow serving as a constant reminder of the tragic loss they had suffered. The trial culminated with Nira's conviction, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment. The verdict brought a sense of justice to the home family and the Kinnekull community, but the wound of losing Lisa would remain open for many years. The psychological impact of Lisa Holmes' disappearance and murder reverberated deeply within the local community and her family. Lisa's parents, devastated by the loss, faced unbearable grief. They sought professional help to cope with the pain, but the memories of their daughter and the tragic end continued to haunt them. The house, once a haven of love and joy, now seemed empty and filled with sadness. Lisa's friends and schoolmates were also profoundly affected. The school she attended offered psychological support to students, and many participated in group therapy sessions to process the loss. The tragedy brought to light everyone's vulnerability, reminding them that evil can lurk anywhere, even in small, quiet towns. Fear and distrust grew among the youth, who previously felt safe in their community. In Kinnekull, the crime left an indelible mark. People became more cautious, and the sense of security that once permeated the town was irreparably shaken. However, the community found strength in unity and support for one another. Support groups and frequent vigils kept Lisa's memory alive, while the town slowly tried to rebuild its sense of normalcy. The forensic investigation in Lisa Holmes' case was a milestone in the application of criminal science in Sweden. Experts worked tirelessly to analyze all the collected evidence, from the DNA found on Lisa's clothes to the traces of blood and other biological materials in the barn. Each new forensic discovery provided a glimpse into how the crime had occurred, helping the police build a robust case against Nirus. One of the most significant discoveries was the matching of Nirus' DNA with the semen traces found on the barn walls. This crucial evidence directly linked Nirus to the crime scene, eliminating any doubt about his presence and involvement. Additionally, the analysis of the DNA found on Lisa's clothes, especially on her underwear, was decisive in confirming the direct contact and violence she suffered before being murdered. Forensic experts also used advanced technologies to analyze Lisa's body conditions, determining the cause of death and the approximate time of the murder. The use of modern soil and plant analysis techniques around the barn helped establish the timeline of events. This meticulous work was fundamental in ensuring justice was served, and Lisa Holmes' case became studied as an example of forensic investigation excellence. Lisa Holmes' tragic case left a lasting legacy in Sweden, The national mobilization to find her and the lessons learned during the investigation influenced significant changes in public safety policies and criminal investigation practices. New measures were implemented to improve responses to disappearances and abductions, with a greater focus on police-community collaboration. In memory of Lisa, her family and friends established a foundation to support the search for missing persons. The foundation also works to raise awareness about potential dangers and provides resources to help other families cope with similar tragedies. The foundation quickly gained national and international recognition, becoming a symbol of hope and resilience in the face of devastating loss. Lisa Holmes' story also inspired various works of art, including books, documentaries, and films that narrate her life and the impactful case of her disappearance and murder. These productions helped keep Lisa's memory alive, promoting important discussions about safety, justice, and the lasting impact of crime on victims and their families. Lisa's legacy is a constant reminder of life's fragility and the need for vigilance and compassion in our communities. The case of Lisa Holmes is not just a story of tragedy, but also of resilience and unity. The response of the Kinnikal community and all of Sweden highlighted the human capacity to come together in the face of adversity. The solidarity demonstrated during the search and after the discovery of her body was a powerful testament to the love and support that still exist in times of pain and suffering. The investigation and trial of Nearest showed the importance of a robust and efficient justice system. The dedication of the police and forensic specialists ensured that every detail was examined, every clue followed, and every piece of evidence rigorously analyzed. The success of the case brought a measure of peace to Lisa's family and everyone who followed the story, knowing that the responsible party was brought to justice. Ultimately, Lisa Holmes' story is a painful reminder of our vulnerability, but also of the strength we can find in times of crisis. It is a narrative of loss, but also of memory, justice, and legacy. As we continue to reflect on her case, we are called to protect one another, value life, and never forget those who were unjustly taken from us. Lisa's memory lives on in the hearts of all who were touched by her story. Meet Sarah. Like many of us, she used to dread bedtime. Hours spent tossing and turning, waking up groggy and irritable, and worst of all, her relentless snoring that not only disturbed her sleep, but her partner's as well. Desperate for a solution, Sarah tried everything. New mattresses, white noise machines, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked until she discovered our breathing for sleep routine. One particularly frustrating night, Sarah stumbled upon an article about the power of breathing to improve sleep. Skeptical but willing to try anything, she read about our breathing for sleep routine, a simple, scientifically backed method designed to clear sinuses, enhance breathing, and eliminate oxygen blockades. It promised to guide users through a simple breathing routine for the best sleep of their lives. Intrigued, she decided to give it a shot. As she began the routine, Sarah immediately felt her sinuses clear. She followed the step-by-step guide, learning how to breathe deeply and correctly. Within minutes, she noticed a significant difference. Her breathing was smoother, more relaxed. That night, she fell asleep faster than she had in years and, incredibly, stayed asleep all night. One of the most astonishing benefits was the end of her snoring. The routine included a simple breathing hack that stopped her snoring in minutes. Sarah learned that her habit of mouth breathing was activating her survival mode, preventing her from achieving truly restful sleep. By switching to nasal breathing, she deactivated this mode and allowed her body to fully relax. The next morning, Sarah woke up feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. She couldn't remember the last time she felt so well rested. Her partner noticed the difference too. No more middle-of-the-night disruptions from her snoring. The transformation was remarkable, and Sarah knew she had found something special. Sarah's story is not unique. Many others have discovered the life-changing benefits of our breathing for sleep routine. Imagine falling asleep quickly, sleeping soundly through the night, and waking up feeling fully rested. No more snoring, no more grogginess, just deep, restorative sleep. Are you ready to transform your sleep like Sarah did? Our breathing for sleep routine is easy to follow and starts working immediately. Clear your sinuses, enhance your breathing, and remove oxygen blockades with our guided routine. Say goodbye to snoring and hello to the best sleep of your life. Check out the link for this wonder in the description and the comments.